My name is Brian Shea. I am the Chief Information Officer for MedOne Healthcare Partners. I have responsibilities for all of IT, which includes everything from IT operations, cybersecurity, and applications. Before integrating ProCARE, our system was very manually intensive. There was no actual integration between our custom tool and our payroll tool. One of the main goals of actually even going with ProCARE was for that level of automation, just because as we continue to grow, the scalability to be able to manage our overall payroll process for our organization would become very difficult. So once we introduced ProCARE into the mix, it really became more of a one-click loading of our information into our payroll system from ProCARE. So we were able to alter our infrastructure that we had when we went with ProCARE in a couple different ways. We're pretty cutting edge, I'd like to say, from a network and infrastructure and application perspective. We are 100% in the cloud. So we were looking for solutions that, again, as we run a lean IT environment for our organization, our primary focus is in helping the providers and the operations of the practice, is looking for a solution that would maintain that, right? So that would be scalable, that would be something that we can easily integrate into our environment, an application that we can develop and change as we change as well. So we went from a solution that was hosted in the cloud, right? So that wasn't new to us, but when we began that search, the criteria was looking for a software as a service type solution. So that just continued us down that path of not having to maintain that infrastructure. Now the big change was we actually owned that infrastructure even though it was in the cloud. Now that we've gone with ProCARE, it's more of a true software as a service from the infrastructure perspective. Going to ProCARE, there were, I like to call, cost shifts and cost savings with it. So our existing environment was very customized from a development perspective. And as that group that we were working with that helped us customize that application to meet our needs, which was great, right? Because it was kind of designed by us for us. As that evolved, we were having to make a decision of, do we bring those internal development resources in-house? Or do we have to look for new external developers to maintain that environment for us? And as I said, we also manage the infrastructure that ran on as well. So part of our goal in cost savings was, could we find an application, again, that was scalable for us, added functionality for us, allowed us to grow, but we didn't have to necessarily hire those resources as well. So we didn't have to hire third-party developers when we went with ProCARE, right? So that was part of the goal, was leveraging a partner that had those resources as well as had the infrastructure. So I would like to say that costs don't go away, right? There's always costs as you grow and the costs shift and change. I'd like to say our costs are definitely more manageable now. So whenever we add new sites, new facilities, we change rules, things like that, it's less customized versus we're leveraging ProCARE's expertise and their development resources to help us along the way with that process. Part of the goal of going to an application or a software as a service model was something that would be more scalable as we grew as a group. That means into different service lines, more facilities, adding more providers. Our existing application model that we had was not scalable. That's where it had an additional expense. If anything we changed was a development effort, a development cost. So now we have a solution where we could actually be a part of the management of it, where we could do different rule changes and different things like that within the environment, that it's not as much of a black box to us of working with ProCARE in their application. We have a lot more visibility into things, a lot more reporting and things that we can configure that we couldn't do in our past. There's still configuration, of course, as we do different things and try to get creative in different ways where we have to reach out to ProCARE to put in feature requests or do projects, but there's a lot more transparency now within the application for us than what we had previously. We had our existing application that we had, and we knew we were kind of at a inflection point of making a change of some sort, and we didn't know what our direction was really going to be at that time. It could have been, do we continue to invest in a custom tool that we have, which a lot of organizations do, but that wasn't necessarily where we wanted to spend our resources and expertise in, because we felt that there was probably somebody that does that better, right? Than us. So it really started off searching, trying to see who was even out there in this mix. There's different people that are in that payroll space, but there's less that are in the billing and payroll space. And that's kind of why we had a custom tool to even begin with, right? Because there weren't a lot of people in that mix. Happened to come across ProCARE in my investigation while we were looking out there, and they came up a couple times, right? As I was doing different types of searches, ProCARE kept bubbling up, in there. So I actually finally reached out, to ProCARE directly to just start the dialogue, right? To just start having the conversation of what do you do? And this is what we do, and what we're trying to do. Is there even a fit there? Because as I said, the payroll piece was right in the wheelhouse, right? For ProCARE, and we knew they could answer that, right? But the billing piece, since we're so, it's all so integrated as part of our process as our organization, was critical for us, and ProCARE was very willing to investigate that with us, right? They were willing to take a look at out of maybe their comfort zone, even a little bit, to see how can we bring this together and keep it together without having to go with two different solutions. And ProCARE was so willing to take a look and help us design an all-encompassing solution, which really stood out to us. So then we actually, brought ProCARE in, meeting with more folks here, leadership team, operations areas, just to learn each other a little bit better. And every step that we took, we felt more and more comfortable with the ProCARE team. So as the CIO here, I also have responsibility of cybersecurity. As I said, we're 100% in the cloud, so we're very dependent on third parties to work with us, partners to work with us. And so that does not alleviate us from our responsibility of our patient information and customer information that flows through these systems. So one of the things that we looked at with ProCARE, again, was what is their architecture? What does their environment look like? What are their security procedures and compliance and things like that? Making sure that we were doing our due diligence when we were working with ProCARE to make sure that that was a concern for them as well, right? So it wasn't just on us. So that was critical for us of going through the selection process, is making sure that we feel comfortable that ProCARE or any vendor, that we work with is doing their due diligence from a security and compliance perspective. And it looks like they're doing the right things, right? They're concerned, they have just as big a concern as we do of maintaining their customers' information and reputation as we do of working through it. So we felt pretty comfortable with the environment. And as everybody knows, that's an evolving, moving target, from a compliance changes as well as just risks, that continue to increase, and the security footprint that we have to cover, continues to grow. But we have felt pretty comfortable that that is also part of the mission of ProCARE in making sure that protecting our information is important to them. ProCARE, to me, has allowed MedOne to put in a solution that I believe will set us up for success, right? It's something we can grow with. It's something that is not customized so much that it was so hard to maintain, right? Into our future. It allows our resources to work more effectively instead of focusing on custom application development necessarily around the product that we had in the past. They could work with ProCARE to what we want ProCARE to do for us, to make us improve our operational efficiencies, at the end of the day, and to be adaptive. So working with the ProCARE team they've been an excellent partner in my eyes. When I don't have to get involved with the partners as much as directly versus my directors having to work with it is a good thing, right? Because they feel confident in ProCARE and working with ProCARE that relationship is just seamless. I sometimes feel like ProCARE is probably like, oh, they're calling us again, or they're asking for help again. But it's never been the case like that. If anything, ProCARE has been there for MedOne as we've thrown challenges at them. They've been able to respond to those challenges. So for me, that makes a good partner.